Hey guys, OJ Albina here, bringing you guys my UPBA Season 1 draft analysis. This is going to be a new Wi-Fi league we are joining with a couple buddies like John Jr., Mid Pokemaster, our buddy Zombie. So I am very excited. We got some other cool guys in the league too that I've been getting to know and all that stuff. So yeah, also our first season, full season as the Miami Mence, which is cool, being able to really break in that logo. Our first full season as the Mence and stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys are as excited as I am for the upcoming season, be sure to sub so you can catch our games as they go up in the future. With that being said, let's jump right into the draft analysis. So we actually ended up getting second pick in this draft, which is great because this league isn't an S tier league, but it is allowing three potentially, in my opinion, S tier mons that shouldn't be allowed in standard, and Aegislash, Tapu Lele, and Megalodios. And I was looking at either Megalodios or Aegislash. I was going to grab one of the two. Whichever one went first, I'd grab the other one. I figured one of them would go, or Lele. I've used Megalodios before. It's an absolutely busted mon. It's super fat. It never dies. It's honestly just really, really, really good, and it's so easy to build around as well. It's a very splashable mon, pretty much any matchup. But the first pick of the draft actually was Tapu Koko, which is another great first round pick. Obviously I think it's the best mon in standard format. So I definitely can't fault them for taking that first pick, but it allowed us to kind of, choose which mon we wanted to use the most with our pick. And I actually ended up going Aegislash, simply one, because I haven't used it before. I've always wanted to draft it, but always in the leagues I'm in that allows it always goes too early, and then most leagues I'm in doesn't allow it, obviously. And two, because it's honestly just absolutely busted in my opinion. It's so fat, obviously, and its shield form having 150 in both defenses is pretty ridiculous. And King Shield is such a good move. It forces so many 50-50s, allows it to beat some of its checks, offensive checks if they aren't physical and stuff like that. If you do win the 50-50 and get that -2 attack, it's honestly doing nothing to a fatter Aegislash and stuff like that. And then, obviously, in its blade form, it's terrifying offensively with the base 150 in each attack, which makes it great mixed, makes it great physically, especially. Has access to Swords Dance for more physical sets, access to Autotomize, which allows us to potentially outspeed some slower teams at +2, potentially bring weakness policy, Aegislash, stuff like that. Definitely a super, super terrifying mon in my opinion. So this team is going to be built around potentially using Aegislash in a way, building around Aegislash and beating its checks and counters and stuff like that with the rest of the members on our team so that it can thrive. So next up, I really wanted Megalopony. I think Megalop, synergizes pretty much perfectly with Aegislash in beating the checks and counters that it does have. But unfortunately, we were sniped. That won a couple picks after us. So I went with my backup Mega, which was Gallade. This is another one I have not gotten to try it actually, but I think it fits very, very well with Aegislash and does pretty much what I need it to do. It's a ridiculous wall breaker, base 165 attack. It just punches absolute holes through teams. Its dual stab is great, has access to pretty good coverage as well. Can set up with Swords Dance or bulk up. Has access to some pretty niche moves like Wish, Destiny Bond, Will-O-Wisp. That won't come to a lot of matchups, but definitely can come. Base 110 speed makes it pretty fast. Outspeeding or speed tying a good majority of the format, which is great. And then it really just beats down those dark types that AG hates offensively. It just kind of punches holes through them, which is honestly great for this team and supporting Aegislash and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be Gallade. Definitely a great mon on the team. And then next up, I wanted to grab a Fire Resist, and I wanted to grab my Bulky Water. So I went with Suicune right here. Like I said, it gives us a Fire Resist for Aegislash, covering one of its weaknesses, and it gives the Bulky Water, which is just an important type in general. Suicune's one of the best Bulky Waters in the format, in my opinion. I absolutely love drafting. I've drafted it many, many times, and it has not failed me yet. It's like I like to say, it's just Suicune's going to do Suicune things. It's going to protect, pressure stall things with Sub Protect. It's going to roar things out. It's going to Toxic. It's going to Scald Burn things. It's going to sit up to +6 when you can't break it anymore. Which is, obviously very, very terrifying and very scary. This is a great, great mon in my opinion. I absolutely love using Suicune, and I think it fits pretty well in, being that Fire Sponge for Aegislash. So next up, I wanted to grab a dark type switch-in. I wanted to grab a Wish Passer. I wanted to grab a Cleric. So I ended up grabbing Sylveon. So Sylveon obviously does switch into the dark types a little bit better than Gallade does. Gallade still takes neutral damage, so it gives us that initial switching, which is great, and it can threaten them with pretty powerful Pixelate Hyper Voices. Even non-invested, Sylveon does, pack a pretty big punch in all honesty. It gives us Wish Pass for Suicune and Aegislash, as well as a Cleric for all three of our mons, other than Sylveon, which I think can definitely be very, very valuable. Suicune obviously doesn't want to be status, neither does Aegislash, and they don't have any reliable recovery outside of rest and leftovers, which isn't reliable recovery in all honesty. So that does, really help their longevity, and lets them utilize their bulk more, and lets me play a little bit more recklessly with them in all honesty. It does also have access to Calm Mind, so it can definitely be a pretty good sweeper in some games. Access to Baton Pass, which gives us good momentum. I've seen Choice Scarf Sylveon do well. I've obviously seen Choice Specs do very well to some teams that don't really have that good Fairy Resist. So yeah, Sylveon just a very solid mod overall, and fits this team very, very well in my opinion. So next up, I wanted to grab a Ground Resist, covering another one of Aegislash's weaknesses. The only one that we haven't covered so far, I believe. And I wanted some hazard control. We have no form of getting rid of hazards on this team yet, which is definitely no bueno. So I ended up grabbing Decidueye, which does both. Like I said, it's a ground resist being the grass typing. It has access to U-turn, Baton Pass for momentum, access to defog so that we can get rid of hazards if we are being stacked. Access to Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, so it can be a setup sweeper on its own, or we can Baton Pass one of those to one of our other teammates. Baton Pass is legal in this league. You just can't pass speed plus another stat. Spirit Shackle is also another great move, being able to trap mons in and forcing our opponents to stay in and not being able to double while we go onto one of our threats can definitely give us some great momentum in my opinion. And it's also a pretty good Z user. And spoilers, this is one of our Z users. We had 25 points overall. Decidueye was obviously 10, so we have 15 more points to designate a Z captain, and this is going to be one of our captains right here. So yeah, that's going to be Decidueye. Fits the team very well, gives us good momentum, a good pivot into ground types, and some hazard control. Next up, I wanted to grab a Wall Breaker. I don't really have much wall breaking potential on this team other than our Mega Gallade and potentially our Aegislash, but Aegislash isn't going to be offensive every week. Its defensive typing and stat line is just too good to run, just all-out offensive Aegislashes every week, so I definitely don't want to do that in all honesty. And I also need a ground type. I think ground type is another very important type. I don't want to be volt switched all over. I don't want to, lose to, Tapu Kokos and Zapdoses and stuff like that, being able to just full switch on me and stuff like that. So I ended up grabbing Diggersby. Diggersby definitely gives us that wall breaking potential. It hits like an absolute truck. Normal spam is really good, and then everything that normal spam doesn't hit, Earthquake does pretty much, does hit itself. It gives me a great Scarfer, more momentum in U-turn, agility, Swords Dance, bulk up, and gives it, set up opportunity and stuff like that. Super Fang for utility, quick attack for priority to pick off weakened threats, or if we're banded, quick attack does do a good chunk to a lot of different mons, in all honesty. And like I said, it gives us a ground type, so we're not just volt switched all over. So Diggersby definitely fits the team very well. Also has access to spikes, so it gives us more hazards. And speaking of hazards, our hazard game is pretty weak right now when it comes to setting hazards. We only have Diggersby, which sets spikes, and Diggersby doesn't want to set spikes very often. We have no rockers or anything like that, and our team is a bit slow at this point, our fastest one being Gallade. So I ended up grabbing Aerodactyl next. Base 130 speed, very, very fast rocker, very fast taunter. Access to Edgequake, which is, great offensive coverage. And then it gives us another defogger as well, very fast defog. So the Aerodactyl fits, a very good utility role on this team, giving us that good speed, so to where, some mons can't run Adamant and, Modest versus us, giving us that great fast utility and getting a rocks up guaranteed usually, or getting a fast taunt off, getting a fast defog off if we really need it. If Decidueye doesn't come, we have another option to defog hazards away, so Decidueye doesn't have to come every single week. But yeah, that's going to be Aerodactyl. Definitely a good steal and usually pick at 9 points in my opinion. So yeah, next up, I wanted to grab a Ghost Resist. The original Ghost Resist I had in my plan was actually Crocodile. I was going to go Crocodile over Diggersby. It fit the team very well. and being able to spam knockoff for us, pursuit trapping things for us, and just being a good ground type sponge, good ghost type sponge, and having access to like rocks and stuff like that. But unfortunately, it was sniped, so we went Diggersby as our ground, and we end up grabbing our dragon type in Hydreigon, which fits just as well as Crocodile in my opinion. Gives us our dragon type, gives us a ghost resist, gives us another knockoff switch in, has access to good utility moves in U-turn, roost, defog, taunt, stuff like that. It's great with a Z move in my opinion, because it has phenomenal coverage on both sides. A pretty good mix, but it's mostly going to lean towards special. On its special side, it has obviously access to its dual stabs. Then it has moves like Flash Cannon, Earth Power, Fire Blast, Surf even. I've seen run, which is pretty cool. So our Dragon definitely has great coverage. It is pretty decent mixed as well. It's a great Scarfer. And spoilers, this is one of our Z captains. Rounding out, it's going to just be Decidueye and Hydreigon. I think they fit. They are both, very threatening with Z. And Hydreigon becomes even better of a knockoff switch in if it is holding a Z crystal, which is great. And it just synergizes really well with the team, especially AG in my opinion. I think H slash plus Hydreigon is a very nice core to have because H slash is a great fairy type switch in all honesty. So yeah, next up, I wanted to up my hazard game a little bit. Like I said, I have 2 rockers, and I have 1 spiker, but the spiker doesn't really want to run spikes, so I think picking up spikes and T-spikes would be very beneficial to the team. And I also wanted a grounded poison, so I went with 6-point Garbodor right here. Garbodor gives me a grounded poison to where I can soak up T-spikes without having to poison something to potentially defog them or something like that. It gives me another fairy type switch in, and most importantly, it gives me spikes and toxic spikes. Toxic spikes on this team I think are very good with 3 mons that really like toxic spike support because they're running protect a lot. In Aegislash, Suicune, and Sylveon, they definitely love having that T-spike support to where they don't have to poison things themselves, so they can kind of just come in, be fat and annoying, and have teams slowly chip themselves down. But yeah, Garbodor definitely fits that bill in all 3 roles that we really needed at that point. But yeah, it's going to be Garbodor. And then lastly, with my 10th and final pick, I like to draft low point or low tier mons that force a lot of prep, despite not wanting to come every single week. They will definitely always, be in the back of the opponent's mind, like, I should probably prep for this because I can potentially lose if I don't. And a mon that is very good at that is going to be Combuskin. Like I said, Speed Pass is not banned in this league, which I think it should. I don't think Speed Pass is very balanced. Mons are at a certain speed where they're at for a specific reason because they probably would be a little bit too unbalanced without it. But I definitely plan to take advantage of the Speed Pass rule if we can in certain matchups with Combuskin right here. Access to Baton Pass, obviously, pass on +2 speed, and just stuff like Gallade, Diggersby, potentially Aegislash, and Hydreigon as well. And it can honestly just come as an offensive threat in some weeks as well. Has access to Swords Dance, Work Up. We can bring in as a Life Orb Wall Breaker or something like that in some games too. So Combuskin is definitely a 3-point, for a mon that's only 3 points, it forces a lot of prep and it forces our opponents to play in a certain way, to where it can open up doors for the rest of our team. But yeah, that is going to be the entire team. Let me know what you guys think of the team in the comments below. If you would, switch anything up, for sure, let me know. Or if you just, what you like about the team, what you don't, and all that stuff. And if you are excited, like I said, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the games as they go up.